Thank you, Louis. Thank you very much. I'm going to try and follow that now. Hi, everyone. I'm Lionel from Dragon Information Systems. I run an IT managed services business. We specialize in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. This morning, I'm going to try and build on the foundation that Louis has set this morning. So we're a Microsoft solutions partner, and a lot of what we do is based in the Microsoft world. Why the Microsoft world? Because probably 95% of our customers live in the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So, this is the one idea I want everyone to leave with today. As agents take on more of the execution, your people gain more agency. What does that mean? It means more time to direct the work, make the calls, and most importantly, own the outcomes. So what does execution mean? Execution is the steps, right? That's the drafting, gathering, the formatting, the researching. And the agency is the human part of this entire equation. That's deciding what matters, setting the bar, right? And making judgments on the result. For a small business, this is the whole game. You're not hiring 10 more people. You're freeing the people within your organization to do more of what only they can do. Not what the agent can do, but what they can do. So how do we know this? And building on from what Louis has said from the Microsoft Work Trend Index, Microsoft sample 20,000 employees across 10 countries, trillions of signals out of Microsoft 365. Most importantly, they've analyzed more than 100,000 Microsoft Copilot prompts. Okay, and what has that told us? It's told us exactly how people work, and not just some survey that tries to infer how people work. So, what does that mean? AI is starting to lift the ceiling on what people can do. It's not just speeding up some bit of busy work that you've got. Nearly half of Copilot conversations are cognitive work. So stuff like analyzing, problem solving, and evaluating. And this counters the myth that people are using AI purely just for emails and summarizing a document, for instance. 2/3 of users say that AI gives them more time for the proper high-value work, right? Getting rid of the repetitive, mundane. And that rises to 80% of people that are using AI in the most advanced ways, right? It just goes to show that the more you use it well, the bigger the payoff. We also know that agentic usage in the last year has increased 15-fold globally. And for enterprises that embrace AI, that usage goes up to 18-fold. Almost 1 in 5 users are already frontier. So what does this frontier thing mean? It basically means that when an individual is using AI correctly, and they're getting the support from their business that's also transitioned, we now have a frontier company. Okay? And that just sets up really the discussion for the next slide. We know already that workers are ready, but the problem is organizations aren't. And that's what we call the transformation paradox. 65% of employees fear falling behind and not adopting AI quickly enough. But yet 45% say it's safer to focus on today's goals than to start thinking about redesigning how they work. And only 13% of employees actually get rewarded for changing the way they work when they use AI, right? People want to move, your employees want to move, but they don't have the permission and they don't have the support. Right? And that's what we're finding. That all just points to a huge organizational problem, right? Culture, support from managers, support by increasing the way they view and the way they're skilled when it comes to talent using AI. And that's what's missing. We know that 67% of the impact of AI is driven by the organization, not by the individual, right? So to me, that sounds like really, really bad news for big companies. But for you as a small business, for the people in this room, it's the complete opposite, right? What does that mean? The Work Trend Index said that the bottleneck is organizational readiness. But that's where small and medium businesses have the edge, right? There's fewer layers, faster decisions. There's no committee between an idea and action, right? You're very, very agile. There's less legacy to unwind, less complicated systems. You have smaller processes, less tooling debt, which means that you can redesign a workflow now rather than tagging on AI to a 20-year-old process that you can't change within your organization. And most importantly, everyone in a small business wears lots of hats. So what does that mean? It means Copilot can allow one person to credibly cover things like analysis, drafting, and research, which is exactly where we spend our time in small business, right? This is exactly where we live, trying to find out the next opportunity. How do we do things more efficiently? How do we do things smarter? So the question isn't whether you can keep up with big organizations. The question is, how fast will you move whilst they organize a steering committee? So what's this Microsoft Copilot thing? Well, it's a tool, it's a product, it's a harness that sits in the flow of all the applications that you work. So it's inbuilt into Excel, Teams, Outlook, Word. Okay, so there's no new app to learn and no additional credentials to try and remember. But most importantly, it's grounded in your data. You heard from Louis this concept of work IQ. Work IQ is all the data that you surface on a day-to-day level that sits within all the touch points that you're using. So it's inherently aware about you, what you do, how you work, your documents, and most importantly, aware of how you interact with your customers. And most importantly, it's secure and governed. It runs inside your bubble, your Microsoft tenant, your identity, okay? It understands permissions. It understands the boundaries within which that data sits. And most importantly, it won't allow an employee that doesn't have access to something to suddenly gain access to information that they're not privy to, okay? And then we have something that we say agents that take action. And this is really the interesting bit. We're now finding that agents are not like chatbots. They go beyond doing things like just answering questions. They now have the ability to execute multi-step processes and then check in with you to make sure that they're doing the work correctly. And so I've got 3 demos that I want to go through very, very quickly. Copilot notebooks, Microsoft Cowork, and computer using agents, okay? Copilot notebooks really turns your scattering of files and notes and chats and meetings into a specific workspace. Microsoft Cowork is there for delegating an entire task where Copilot plans and executes whilst you stay in control, making the decisions. And then thirdly, we have computer using agents that has the ability to control a computer, right? Acts on web and apps on your behalf. It has the ability to log in, move a mouse, control a legacy application that you can't connect to without engaging with its interface. And so for each demo, I'll show you the concept and perhaps go through a very, very quick SMB scenario. And then we'll try and walk through it. So as everybody knows, live demos generally don't go well. But I'm going to try and make sure that, that we can change that narrative. So Copilot notebooks, very quickly. It's your own workspace for a single task, right? It brings in your chats, your files, your meetings. But most importantly, the answers that you get is grounded only in the data in that notebook. It doesn't go off on the internet and find some spurious information, which means that the output from that conversation can be trusted. Very, very important. There's no hallucination. It gathers everything into one place to get you all the answers, which means you can draft smarter proposals, summaries, and plan content. It also allows you to share your notebooks with your colleagues to add data on a project, for instance. And the key differentiator that it has compared to normal chat is it doesn't wander the internet. It really just grounds it in that material. Okay? So let's take, for instance, you're a small group of developers and you want to keep track of your software project. You have all your architecture documents, your meetings, your brand guides, your competitor links, and now you want to run some definitive research based on that information. So let's try and see if I can show you what that looks like. Okay. Here we go. Notebooks. Okay. So here I have a bunch of notebooks. Okay. And this is my software development project here. And this is basically the basic makeup of a notebook if the internet loads fast enough. Uh-oh. And this is probably where the demo fails. No, it's not an AI problem, it's a connection problem. Let's try it one more time. Okay, here we go. Here we go. So here we have a whole bunch of data. And if I show you what contributes to this, okay. So here I've added a whole bunch of data, as you can see in the side. It also curates every single meeting that I have with my team sitting here, okay? And I have the ability to auto-generate something like an infographic, right? If that, give it a couple of seconds. There we go. So this is a full infographic on my software that's now customer ready. I can start having conversations and tee up conversations. I did not play a single part in creating this. I said, create the infographic for me. It distilled the information and it's presented it for me. I've then also gone on to create a seamless mind map out of my notebook. Okay? And that mind map helps you to drill into the entire process. How does the software work? Here's my platform vision. And if I can go and expand that out, it tells me about its core functions. And this is all information it's gleaned from the product brief. I've not had to tell it what to do, right? And you can go on to do really interesting things where if you leverage Copilot, if I close that, you have a full Copilot section here where you can start to ideate and create new documents. And one of the documents I created was user stories. So out of the functionality in my software, I wanted to have some compelling user stories of how somebody would use my software. And the AI has gone, done all the research and gone, here's all key features. And if you want selling points for your product, well, let's start talking about these user stories. That'll be helpful. Okay. And it evolves. As you add data, this project evolves. This information evolves. All right. We'll now move on to Microsoft Cowork. So if notebooks are grounded in the answers, Cowork is now all about action. It's your AI teammate. Copilot takes the whole task, not just the chat bit. You describe the outcome, it builds and plans and works independently on anything, your emails, your meetings, your files, and any of the data stored within Work IQ. You delegate the outcome in plain language, it works in the background, and often it sets off and does several parallel tasks at the same time. And it will pause to ask you for further guidance if it needs it. The beauty part of a Microsoft Copilot is that it runs in a completely sandboxed environment, in a completely sanitized environment. It's completely governed, and every action within Copilot is completely auditable. So you have a full trail of what's gone on. And most importantly, it lives inside your Microsoft tenant. And with Microsoft Copilot, although you've delegated the task to an AI, the beauty part is if you've not lost control. It's not gone off into the ether somewhere and done something and you don't know what it's done. Okay? So I'm going to take you through a quick walkthrough. We'll look at a situation in Copilot where we've described an outcome. Cowork has gone off and built something and given us some deliverables for us to approve. And so let's have a look at what that looks like. Here we go. Okay. Here's our example. I have a salesperson within my team. He's met a potential new customer. In this case, our customer is called, let's go all the way up here. In this case, our customer is called Meridian Mortgages. This is a real live example based up in Leicester. And we want to perform some exhaustive analysis on this customer to understand what they do, how they do it, what are their financials, because you want to know you're dealing with a company that is reputable. You want to learn about any new news, and you want to try and compile a report that gives you a definitive answer on this customer. All I've done is gave Cowork a prompt, and it's gone off, and it's used multiple thought processes to now put together an executive summary for me. Okay? And off the back of the executive summary, it's created this interesting document, which is a cover sheet. Everything I need to know, what it does, recent developments, what are the signals, and what are the key financials for this customer. All just off one prompt. It's also gone on to create a comprehensive Excel spreadsheet for me. Again, company synopsis, a bit on the income statement. Obviously, this is not a publicly listed company, so income isn't available. But it can infer a lot from a company's balance sheet. Give me some idea based on closing cash balances. Okay? And interestingly, if there's any key ratios in terms of debt equity ratios and cash, I know all about it. So I already know I'm dealing with a half-decent company. Okay? So my next instruction here is rather simple. Create a 10-slide pitch deck for an introductory meeting with Meridian Mortgages. Focus on how Dragon Information Systems is ideally suited to taking care of the IT requirements. Also impress on the products and the services that we offer that are ideal fit for that business sector. So far, just 2 prompts. And here's the output. The beauty part is because Copilot is grounded in everything I do and knows everything about my business, it knows exactly how to pitch my business to a potential customer with me just asking it. So here we go. More about Dragon, about the areas that we work in. Why is it critical for businesses in that industry? And why we're apt because we're a complete IT department on tap. One partner for everything, talking about all our products and services. Okay, and I can go on and we can go through it, but it goes to show that Copilot understands your organization intimately. It also understands how to pitch those products and services at exactly the pain point for your customer without me going into depth to tell it exactly what I'm looking for. Okay? And so that is how we can leverage Copilot. Cowork. And finally, I'm going to talk about computer using agents. Okay? So what are computer using agents? Computer use actually interacts with real website, apps, tools inside a secure virtual environment. It allows you things like the ability, with approval, to sign into gated websites, okay, automatically for you. And it allows you to create reports that are richer and also allows you to integrate with legacy applications. What's really interesting about it is that this is running away from me. What's really interesting is that it runs in a completely secure environment. So it's a disposable virtual environment. It performs all its work within that environment, and when it's done, it can completely dispose of itself cleanly. Okay? And so it has the ability to create and run code on its own. So how many of you have worked with OpenClaw, Hermes agent? Okay, some of you have. It's not too far off, okay, where it can build something in a standalone environment and then produce that code for you, okay? And it's safe by design because it's all sandboxed. So let's have a look at what a computer use agent looks like. Okay. Oh, I have been logged out. Oh, fortunately, we're back in. Okay. So I have handily created an agent called Greg. Greg is a computer use agent, and I want to be able to log on to my customers' websites, use a browser to find the latest prices for specific products that are on my customers' websites. We all know that websites change. That information can be found in a different place. So it's very, very difficult to make macros to tell something to go and find a bit of information in a landscape that's constantly evolving. But computer use agents have an element of intelligence behind them. They can navigate things like captchas. They can accept cookies. They can move past certain gates that would normally stop something like remote process automation. Okay? So let's have a quick look. Here's Greg. And I am going to test. So hopefully this will spin up. So all I've done to Greg, I've said, go to this website, click on computer hardware in the navigation menu, click on a product, and then grab the top 10 items in that list. And I can now tell it to go to multiple websites, all of my competitors, go and look at all the pricing, and then take that pricing and seamlessly move that pricing into an Excel spreadsheet and perform a bit of analysis for me. So I can make it aware of my counter products, and I can start doing pricing analysis. And the beauty part about this is it's all done autonomously for you. So here you go. It's now spun up an instance. It's working in a sandboxed virtual environment on a computer. It's not the fastest thing on the planet at the moment, but it has the ability to drive your browser and log in. So hopefully you will start to see some action here in this pane. That'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. There you go. It's opened up scan. I've not told it to deal with the captcha, but it's actually dealt with the captcha code on its own. Okay? So as you can see, it's going to realize that it needs to verify that checkbox and move past it. Right? And so you can have hundreds of computer use agents that go off and do things for you autonomously whilst you sleep, ready to be processed and analyzed by you the following day. Okay? What's really great about computer use agents is if you have a legacy application, okay, so it's this application that was created years ago that for some reason you cannot get rid of because it's empirical to what you do within your organization. Okay, so let's say it's a legacy finance application, and you have a whole bunch of invoices that you want to process on a legacy application that you can't write to. Your computer use agents can go and query a folder, pick up your invoices, read them, and manually input them in your legacy application without you even needing to touch them. Okay? So there we go. And what you'll find is after a while, I have a document here. And if it passes through the authentication, there we go. I've asked it to look for the top 10 products, find me the descriptions, and get me the prices. All done completely autonomously. There we go. Hope you found that useful. I think we all can probably use with something that's capable of doing that level of autonomy, right? The final thing I want to leave you with in terms of product set is Microsoft Scout. Microsoft Scout was announced at Build 2026, as Louis mentioned, a couple of weeks ago. It is the full transition from a Copilot into a complete autopilot. So what does that mean? Autopilots are always-on agents that work autonomously in the background on your computer. It has its own identity. It can act on its own behalf based on the policies that are set by your organization, right? It doesn't just go off and do anything. You set some policies, and those stay as the guardrails by which your computer use agent works. They don't wait to be prompted and told what to do. They use autonomy. What does that mean? Copilot answers your question. Cowork runs a task when you tell it to do. But Scout keeps on working continuously on its own. And it's the next rung on this agentic ladder. It has integrated access into your Teams, into your Outlook, into your emails. It has the ability to surface things that are really important, right? So important decisions that you've got to make that might be blockers to certain things happening, it surfaces that to you and makes it available. It has the ability to schedule your diary across multiple time zones. It has the ability to perform research on your behalf and have it ready for a meeting, for instance, without you asking. It has the ability to pre-sense some of the things you want to do in your workday and get that ready for you. Okay? And so that's where Microsoft is now heading in terms of a fully autonomous agent that runs as your personal PA on your computer. And that's more likened onto sort of OpenClaw and Hermes and NemoClaw. So, how to start? We're not trying to boil the ocean, right? How are we going to start? We have a 90-day plan for how to make this work. Pick one specific high-friction workflow in your business. Whether it's meeting prep, market research, proposals, doesn't matter. Pick just one. Use Copilot Notebook or Cowork for delegation, but just use one tool. Run the tool. In the next month, set the bar. Have somebody within your organization effectively look at the output, okay? Judge it, make it better, improve it. You agree on what looks good. You agree on what that outcome needs to look like, okay? And have a running process that delivers time and time again. And in the next month, you scale it. You take on the next process. You open up that process to more people within the business, right? And you continuously improve as you go along. Just remember, when we looked at the work trend index, the data said the blocker is the organization, right? It's the leaders in this room that are ultimately responsible for the adoption of AI within their own businesses, right? We know that employees are ready, right? And we've got to enable them. So once again, the opportunity is human. As the agents take on the execution, the researching, the gathering, the analyzing, your team gains agency, right? And the smaller and more agile you are, the faster you can start to adopt these principles. We've opened with the agency equation. We saw some demos. But the data says that organizations need to change. All of the technology is there. All of this stuff is there for you to use. But it's whether you choose to embrace this within the business. Don't leave with 16 ideas that you want to go and do tomorrow. Start with just one idea. Put it through your 90-day plan and start making AI work for you. So I've left some time. Have we got time for questions at all? No. Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much.
Hello.